What's up, everybody? It's another Victory Monday here in the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about, we talked a lot of the good stuff this weekend. We did a post-game show, did a breakfast show the next morning, soaking in the win. I think it's important to enjoy an instant classic game like that where Miami comes out on the winning end. But now it's Monday. Break it down a little bit. We watched the film. Talk about some things Miami needs to clean up going forward and areas of concern that need to be addressed as you get deeper into conference play. So we'll be doing that. First, I want to talk about some folks that are always there to help you clean up. That is Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anijar and Levine. Pete, hop in there.
Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday. We got another big one this weekend, D.
No, man, I'm feeling great overall. Again, I made my big post on CanesInSight.com, 7 million posts and counting, all free, talking about how we really got to enjoy these kind of wins. My kids were going insane. There's so many new fans made from a game like that. Stars making plays, Cam Ward, Restrepo, Elijah Arroyo, the great effort we'll talk about here in a second. But now that the euphoria's worn off a little bit, there's some issues with this team that I think need to get cleaned up. And I'm not saying anything they don't know inside the building, but issues that need to get cleaned up before you get deeper into conference play.
Yeah, Mario was not very happy right after the game on the field, obviously, said how sloppy of a game it was. And obviously a lot of that stuff is what we're going to get into today. A lot of attrition on Friday night, D. And I think as excited as we've been about the depth of this team and in the first 4 games of the season when they were kind of able to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit, you saw the depth of this team in certain areas. But in a situation like Friday night, where it's still a highly contested game, we see that there's some areas here where there's room for improvement for sure.
Yeah, let's start with the context, which is, look, if you look at the stats, Miami's going to rank highly in pretty much all the stats, offensively and defensively. But the biggest reason why, Florida, not a very good team on either side of the ball, certainly not on the defensive end or pass blocking on offense. Ball State, probably one of the worst teams in FBS, maybe the worst team in FBS. USF, you saw them get boat raced by Tulane. So this has not been the toughest schedule to this point. You face the best team you played to this point in Virginia Tech, and it's a nail-biter. And I think Virginia Tech probably played to their ceiling. Miami played down. There were some turnovers. A lot of things happened. I don't think Miami was necessarily just overwhelmed by VTech's ability. It was just a good VTech, a talented VTech team that's inconsistent, playing a good game and Miami playing poorly. But they also exposed some flaws that maybe the other teams on Miami's schedule just didn't have the ability to address. And Pete, I'll start with the run defense. 206 yards per game, 206 yards in the game for Virginia Tech, 6.4 yards per carry. So, I mean, obviously that is a heavy, heavy number when you're talking about the running game. It was the quarterback, it was also the running back. We knew both those guys were big and talented. They could break tackles going in. But that's a number that's really not sustainable. This has been a good run defense the past couple of years. Last year was great, 11th in the country. This year, still 19th statistically, but not a very good showing with the first major test. So, Pete, what do you see from the run defense?
Well, look, in the first 4 games, it didn't seem like there were many holes for opposing run games to run through, right? So, first of all, we've talked about the lack of interior size overall for Miami. I think even though Virginia Tech's offensive line wasn't the biggest in the world, they were able to get some push on Miami. The missed tackles, we'll talk about that, and that was a huge issue. 20-plus missed tackles the other night against Virginia Tech. But to me, it just looked like they weren't able to get that same sort of push up front in the run game. I think the fact that not that Byron Brown didn't have the ability to run, because obviously he did, and Miami shut that down. But the fact that you can't really sell out on the run game completely when you have a quarterback who can get outside of the pocket like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the size. Simeon Barrow, who is a very good player, very twitchy, very active. He's old, so he has some grown man strength, but he's not a giant defensive tackle. He's really more of a quicker, penetrating type defensive tackle. Next to him, Akeem Mesidor was kind of that defensive end, defensive tackle tweener. He played a lot of West Virginia before transferring to Miami, but he's not what you'd call a war daddy on the inside. So that's a position where I think we do lack some size. There's some depth issues as well at that position. And you saw that get exposed again a little bit against Virginia Tech. Even though they're not the biggest, most powerful offensive line, they were able to exploit that. Tackling, which we'll get to in a second. I thought, Francis Mauanoa wasn't his best game. He's a major impact player, a great player. I worry about some of the usage with him because he is so.
I think Francisco.
Francisco Mauanoa, the linebacker number 1. His size, he's so big as a linebacker. I mean, he's 240 plus and looks it, and he plays so hard with such effort that some of those guys you got to protect from themselves a little bit. And I thought he got tired as the game went on just because he exerts so much energy running around, running into blockers, trying to get into the backfield, make plays on the quarterback. And of course, all the stuff he does in space. And when a big guy like that, a big linebacker gets tired, the first area you'll see him suffer is in space because he's not the most, flexible guy through the hips from a linebacker perspective. He's not someone you see just getting real low, crouching and exploding with a strike. He's more of a very physical player, but more of a upper body kind of guy that will wrestle you down or pop you up top. He's not the most flexible of linebackers. So I think when you see a guy that size with that style get tired, quarterbacks can make him look pretty bad in the open field or running backs. And I think you saw a little bit of that as the game went on. I'd love to see more rotation at that position. Let Mauanoa be a missile when he's in there, getting in the backfield, blitzing, blowing things up, chasing plays down sideline to sideline, and having a full tank of gas. Maybe more Chase Smith going forward would be something that you could do there. But overall, I think these numbers are going to be the first thing on Lance Guidry's bulletin board when he gets with the team, and it has been with the team the last couple of days.
Yeah, that long touchdown run we've now seen a couple times now. Obviously against Florida, same thing happened. Montreal Johnson busts off that long one. So something to watch there because you can hold teams to 2-3 yards a carry, but if you're going to give up one of those big runs a game, and look, it's happened twice now in 5 games, but you're going to be playing more quality opponents here. Cal, they don't have the most coming forward. They don't have the most mobile quarterback, right? So expect a lot of the run game there and try to pound Miami a little bit. But I agree with you, D. You would like to see some more rotation at linebacker, especially since I think there are athletes capable of playing snaps there.
Yeah, and look, it's not going to get easier at running back. You mentioned Cal, Jaden Ott, one of the best running backs in the country, not having a huge start to his year, but he's just as talented as he was last year when he took over. So he's going to be a problem. You face Louisville. They got 2 Miami guys back there between Don Chaney and Isaac Brown from Homestead. Brown's young. He's a freshman, but he can make big plays. He's a speedster. He can take it to the house. And then, you go down the line. Florida State's got pretty good backs that can give you problems. So Miami has to really get a handle on this issue. This was a good run defense last year. It was a strength of the defense last year. Theoretically, you're not losing a ton going from Dean and Taylor to Barrow and Messidor size-wise, but this game was an eye-opener against USF. I thought there were a couple of runs that with a more explosive tailback could have been big plays, just seeing them live and seeing the play develop. Got to tighten that up. And again, I think conditioning a linebacker, some more rotation a linebacker, the return of Ruben Bain, which moves everybody over a little bit on defense, on the defensive side of the line. He's not necessarily going to play defensive tackle for you, but he's just overall, I think, going to make you a stronger, more physical front and help you tighten up there.
Indeed, last year with the injuries that did happen up front, we saw Guidry go to some different alignments up there, some 3-man fronts, and I think there was some success, like you said, stopping the run last year. So I would imagine we could see some tinkering with that moving forward as well.
Yeah, no question. And one thing I did not include in our rundown, but I wanted to get to, which is when we did stop the run and we had Virginia Tech in long 3rd down situations, Miami was not able to get off the field. So those problems kind of worked hand in hand. They were either getting ahead of the sticks, running the ball and making big plays, or if you stopped the run and you got them in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, where you think you wanted them, given their quarterback not being the most consistent passer, they were able to make big plays throwing the ball on, again, 3rd and very long situations. You had pass interference, which was probably a little bogus, but these things happened. I would say it was really a twofold issue, but, obviously the back end and the front end. But I think missing Ruben Bain really hurt Miami on those long third downs, because that is where you would expect him to eat with Tyler Barron, with Akeem Messidor, with Elijah Alston while he was out there, and then Malik Bryant. I think we've sort of underplayed the fact that we were missing two of our three most important players. Obviously Cam Ward is the most important player, but if I'm ranking him after that, it's going to be Ruben Bain, to me, the best defensive player in the ACC, and then Jalen Rivers, all conference left tackle. So you're missing two of your three top guys. I think this was the game where that kind of caught up to you a little bit. Obviously, you're going to get Bain back here pretty soon. Mario Cristobal told Joe Rose it would be for this game here with Cal. Jalen Rivers, more of a game time decision, maybe after the bye. But those are going to be very, very welcome additions. And I think with Ruben Bain in particular, it's going to help your run defense problems and also help you get off the field on third down.
Yeah, and then the next topic we'll discuss here is, like we alluded to, the missed tackles. And this has been an issue that's plagued Miami for the last 10 to 15 years. I think it's definitely tightened up under Coach Cristobal and Coach Guidry. Early on in Cristobal era, it was still an issue, but it hasn't necessarily been something that we've had to discuss week in, week out like in years past. It definitely showed itself on Friday night, though.
21 missed tackles is really the worst in the Cristobal era. Some plays that just jump in, and this is not necessarily missed tackle, but just the overall lack of physicality. You saw Jaden Harris getting blocked into the end zone by the quarterback, Kyron Drones, on that long touchdown down the sideline. That was sort of a low moment here. Mish Powell had a tough day tackling. Jadis Richards, some of the secondary guys had a tough time tackling. These are guys we've seen tackle before, so it's not that they can't do it. Certainly Mish Powell has a track record of being a good tackler. But I think if just talking to folks that have been college coaches that watch the game, they expect Miami to be challenged on the perimeter as the season goes on. Make these defensive backs tackle. OJ Frederica had a very nice tackle on a screen that he sniffed out, but is a true freshman. Again, Richard, you're going to see if he can do it. Mish Powell, you test his consistency. Jaden Harris banged up, and he plays very hard, so sometimes you run by his plays, particularly USF a couple weeks ago. So forcing these guys to tackle in space and on the perimeter, I think, is going to be a focus of opposing teams. So these players for the Miami Hurricanes need to be ready to be challenged.
Yeah, 100%. And, hopefully Jaden Harris is good to go. It wasn't a great play by him, but where he was getting blocked by drones, but need him out there. I mean, Zaquan Patterson filled in for him, but as well as Markeith Williams was out there. But to me, you can't lose Jaden Harris at that safety spot, because we've been talking about that being one of the spots that we're looking at moving forward. And at the start of the season, corner's been solid, but still a lot of room for improvement there. And you're missing Damari Brown, which, as we understand, is still going to be out some good period of time here, D, and he's your most physical corner for sure.
And probably your best corner. So tough loss. I mean, Miami really, if you really break it down, and this not to make excuses, because first of all, Miami had some good fortune in that game in certain respects, and they're 5-0. You can't complain out too much, but you're missing your left tackle. You're missing your defensive end, who's your best defensive player, and you're missing your best corner. So in terms of positions that matter in the NFL level, that get paid the most, if you just rank positions, left tackle, edge rusher, corner, those rank high. So you're missing guys in those spots. That makes it tough. Puts a lot of pressure on Cam Ward to be the hero, which of course he was to end the game. But I think those injuries caught up to Miami. They need to get healthier. But with a guy like Damari, he's going to be out for a minute. Jalen Rivers might not be back this week. You're going to have to adjust in the interim, because every conference game is going to be not necessarily as close as you saw this past week, hopefully, but they're going to be dogfights, and they're going to be teams that can beat you on a bad day.
So, D, we talked about the run defense, and again, this from my eye, it just didn't seem like they were getting as much push. A lot of that might have been Simeon Barrow, and then longer game, and defense was on the field a lot there. But on the other side of the ball, the run game offensively for Miami, something that we've been waiting to just take a game over and physically pound a team. You have Cam Ward, so obviously gonna be slinging the ball around. But another game here against Virginia Tech where probably not as much push up front as Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal would have hoped for.
Yeah, David Martinez only 4.3 yards per carry, under 60 yards. To me, I think there's a lot of things going on with the run game. On one hand, I thought Miami was going to run on Virginia Tech, just looking at them on film, their size. I think the game kind of got weird after that turnover. Virginia Tech had so much momentum. They built that lead, and Miami really had to throw. I thought there is some element of stacking the box. Miami also plays very condensed sets, so there are a lot of people in the area anyways. And I think more than anything, I've talked to people, again, college coaches, high school coaches who watch this team closely. The push is not as good as it was last year. And it's not necessarily losing Matt Lee or losing Cohen, all it doesn't help. Guys like Ines Cooper, who are really, really talented, one of the best offensive guards in the nation, there's more to what he can do. Miami needs to see the guy that was pushing apart Clemson last year, pushing them around. That's what you want to see from Ines Cooper. I don't know if he's had that breakout game yet. Very young season, but you do want to see some more push from him and his teammates on the offensive line because, yes, there's some systemic reasons. Miami could use more diversity in their running game as well. They've been fairly vanilla in terms of what they do. There's more they can do. But at some point, you got to knock them off the ball and move the ball that way. And that has not happened yet for Miami. I think you'll see it as the season goes on, and certainly see it if Miami has a game where they have the lead and they're in control, but it's still close. That's when I think in the fourth quarter, you're going to see Martinez and Fletcher really wear teams down, start popping runs. Of course, Jordan Lyle or A.J. Allen can come in and bust a big run as well. I think you have not seen the full running game plan like Clemson, right? That's a perfect last year's Clemson game, perfect example of a game plan to run that was executed. I don't think you've seen that in these games because it's either been blowouts or a game like this where it just was tough to run given what Miami needed to do to keep up.
Yeah, and Markel Bell's, I think, been solid in his development early on, obviously coming from the junior college level, so was not going to be a finished product. But I don't think he had that penalty that, if you go back and look at it, should not have been a holding call. Did get blown by one time free, and that's against the guy who leads the country in sacks. I don't know if that's still the case after this weekend, but to me, been very good. But ideally would be your swing tackle in the situation. I don't think he provides as much power as Rivers at this point of his career.
Yeah, I agree. I think in a perfect world, he'd be redshirting like McKinney did, and then really having some time to go blossom into a top 10 pick. He's thrown into the fire. Of course, the Rivers injury accelerated things, but these are good reps for him. I think he's overall done pretty good. He did get beat one time by Powell Ryland, which led to a sack, but I think he's trending in the right direction. But yes, you want Rivers back. You don't want that kind of sack. I mean, one sack like that can injure Cam Ward and ruin your whole season. So you're ready for Rivers to come back. I don't believe Cal, even though they have sacked the quarterback and had a pretty good defense, is as dangerous rushing the passer as Virginia Tech is, just from a talent standpoint. So I think Miami has a better chance to do a good job. We'll talk about the Cal game in depth leading up to the week. But just in general, in terms of what Miami needs to tighten up, that push on the front, not just Bell or McCoy or Carpenter, the new guys, Cooper as well. Nono is doing his part. Cooper, I think you're going to see more from him as the season goes on because he is one of the best in the country. There's a lot he can do.
Agreed.
So, one thing I wanted to also touch on, we're top of the trenches, is the perimeter. Going to the USF game in person and seeing how they were playing our receivers showed me that there might be respect for our receivers, but there's less respect for our receivers than there are for other parts of the team. Whether it's, of course, you respect Cam Ward and you respect the running game and the offensive line. The receivers were very much challenged by USF's DBs and to a lesser extent VTech's DBs without safety help. I think that's a little scary that's what they identified as the weakness of the team. Cam Ward can throw that ball. So really, to me, that means they just don't trust the receivers to get open, or they don't believe in the receivers to get open. Probably the lesser of all the evils is worrying about those receivers beating you. And when you see a Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith, it makes you realize there are levels to this. And you hope Miami can really find that dynamic playmaker at receiver that teams are just deadly afraid to leave one-on-one with no safety help. Truly, I think the guy that might be that person is Chris Johnson. Not an every down receiver by any means, but somebody who lines up twice a game and gives you the fear of God that he can run right by you.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was either in the post-game show instant reaction that I did on Friday night or on our Saturday morning show that we did, but I would like to see him get more touches a game. Obviously, he's being schemed the ball at this point, but we're seeing him being used as a decoy. He's getting snaps. It just seems like every time he gets the ball, man, there's potential for a big play. And then even in the USF game, when they did try to throw at him there, he got open, little underthrown by Cam Ward, but he could be a real weapon here moving forward for this offense.
Yeah, and like the kick return in
Yeah.
this game. I mean,
I thought he housed that. I thought he was about to house
if
it.
he would have just avoided that shoestring tackle, that would have been a house call. So he's an impact player. You see his role growing every week. I think he might be the guy that teams are afraid of. This team right now lacks a Santana Moss. I mean, every team lacks a Santana Moss. He's a special player. But if you look at Alabama, Georgia, not so much Georgia this year, but Georgia in the past has had good skill position guys. Brock Bowers, of course, last year, Ladd McConkey. But I'm probably thinking more towards Alabama on this. The speed factor and the guys that petrify you, the Jamison Williams, the Waddles, the Henry Ruggs, guys that you really are worried to leave your corner alone against because they could change the scoreboard. I think Miami needs a little more of that. And teams are playing the Miami receivers like they don't have that. So that's something to watch going forward as the cornerback ability improves. VTech had a good pair. You'll see better corners as you go. Other teams with good corners, Florida State, Louisville's got a couple guys. So we'll see how this all progresses. But something to keep an eye on is how other teams play our receivers.
Yeah, I think just real quick, that's why after Sam Brown struggles the first few weeks, I've been saying you can't give up on him just yet because he has that element of speed. He got open off the line of scrimmage there up the seam, made a nice catch later in that game from a nice throw by Ward there. But no, I think him and then Jacoby George, he brings you, I think, somewhat of that game breaking speed. So need him to continue to be engaged and a big part of this offense.
No question about it. So shifting gears, something positive. We'll talk about the Beacon Adjusters Player of the Game, which we call them the beacon of the game, the shining beacon of performance and effort in this case. Before we talk about that, if your property has been affected by Hurricane Helene, Beacon Adjusters Group is here to help. With years of experience handling storm-related damage, we work tirelessly to ensure you get the compensation you deserve. From assessment to settlement, our team of trusted experts will guide you every step of the way. Don't face the aftermath alone. Let Beacon Adjusters Group restore your peace of mind. Call us today. Link is in the description, beaconadjusters.com. So Beacon Adjusters Player of the Game, to me, simple choice, Elijah Arroyo, tight end. You heard Louis Riddick call him a first-round tight end last week on the USF broadcast. I will reiterate, I watch a lot of college football. I've not seen a tight end better than this guy. Penn State's got a great one. Michigan's got some. Utah's got a guy. But this dude, first of all, look at this. I mean, he would have crossed over this guy's face right there and been wide open. And then runs, feels like, I mean, when you consider his diagonal, it's almost like 120 yards. Look at the speed. He's running harder, but he's also flying. That's why.
And he lays the wood, I mean, boom, at the end there, yeah.
Not just a shoestring tackle. He crushes the guy. This play was highlighted by Jim Nagy, the head of the Senior Bowl. Is actually the clip that we're watching. Shannon Dawson actually gave him the tip and said, hey, Jim, you want to see this play? Jim Nagy, NFL personnel guy, hugely respected. Pete, I know you dealt with him.
Well, and D, I'll say this, just a side note, because I've dealt with not only the Senior Bowl and Jim, but I've dealt with a lot of players over the years who their coaches would not go out of their way like that to go reach out to the guy who runs the game, send him that clip. Some coaches obviously look at it. It helps Shannon Dawson if his guy gets picked high, and that's another feather in his cap down the line in recruiting and things of that nature. But it still takes a lot for a coach to go out of his way and do that. It means he obviously really believes in the talent, believes in the character of the kid, because coaches don't go out of their way like that for players. So, I mean, look, that showed me a lot about Shannon Dawson as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you want to show your own players. It's interception return, the effort, it speaks for itself running that way. I mean, really also the speed if you're just evaluating. I mean, Elijah Arroyo's fast, man. I mean, he was running like a 4.5 down the field to catch up and deliver that kind of blow. But ultimately, that was the drive where Malik Bryant sniffed out the fake field goal. Virginia Tech didn't get any points. It was a close game, as we all saw. So that play alone was really a game-saving play when you think about the context of it. And then it's also a perfect example to show your younger players, a Riley Williams, and Elijah Lofton, Brock Schott when he comes in, and Luka Gilbert, the tight ends in that room and other positions. This is what it needs to look like from an effort standpoint. If this guy's an NFL prospect is moving like that and is a senior, why aren't you playing with that kind of effort? There were other people that you watch in that clip that weren't running with that kind of effort. It's a wake-up call for them too. If you're sitting in a meeting room and someone's saying, hey, why is he running so hard and you aren't? What's the answer to that? It's a great motivating clip to not only teach, but to, I don't want to say shame is the wrong word, but say, hey, tighten up because we need to get to that standard with everybody running with that kind of speed to the ball.
Listen, Riley Williams might say he's got a clip for himself from the game last week. I keep saying it, man. Ward, what an amazing play by him, but just the presence of mind for Riley Williams to get back up off the ground. Listen, most guys would have just said, "Oh man, he's about to get sacked. I'll get up slowly." He was attentive. He was ready for it, and then not only did he make the catch, but he makes a stiff arm, and he was moving when he was getting upfield as well.
Yeah, Cam McCormick caught a touchdown as well. So great day for the group. But yeah, with Williams, while we're on that topic, this guy looks like he's going to step right into Arroyo. There was a high recruit just outside the top 100 overall. Alabama was on him. Ohio State was on him. He ultimately chose Miami, coming all the way from Portland, Oregon. I don't think people realize how talented this guy is. He gets lost in the shuffle sometimes. He is bigger than Arroyo. He is huge. Pete, you've seen him up close. This is a massive tight end.
Huge frame. I mean, his shoulders are so wide, and I mean his torso is leaner in a good way because he has the athleticism as we saw on that run. And I think as he becomes more of a feature in the offense, probably next year, you'll be able to see a lot of his skills on display.
Yeah, his inline blocking this year has been outstanding. He's really moved people. On that play, he got knocked on his butt in blitz pickup, but inline, combo blocking, just driving guys off the ball, down blocks. He has that to him with his size and his effort. He's really a receiving tight end, similar to Arroyo. They were productive receiving tight ends in high school, so they came in knowing how to run routes, knowing how to run with the ball. They weren't learning on the job in college like so many tight ends do. So this is a player, again, you saw him running with the ball on that shovel pass, breaking a tackle, and then going up almost to the end zone. Not Chris All mentioned he didn't extend where he could have had a fumble. That would have been a nightmare, right? Finished this strong. So this is a guy with a ton of potential. I think as Arroyo moves on, Williams will step right in as the top tight end and a guy with NFL potential.
Agreed. And by the way, as we keep talking about the tight end group, Elijah Lofton probably should have had a touchdown as well.
Yeah, no, he should have. That was a well thought of play. It wasn't executed. Just some stats on Arroyo while we're here. 2 catches, 88 yards. Second nationally in Power 4 in yards per catch as a tight end, 24.7. Number 1, Ryan Williams, the freak show you saw for Alabama wide receiver. So Arroyo's not just catching the ball at a high rate and blocking and doing hustle plays that you wouldn't believe. He's making explosive catches down the field, 24.7 every time he gets a catch, and he's gotten targeted a decent amount. That's not on a tiny sample size. So love Elijah Arroyo. Think he's an NFL player all day. Think he might be the best tight end in the country. We will see that unfold as the season continues. So Pete, want to talk about another segment here, which is the Miami Hurricane Team Store Post of the Day. MiamiHTS.com. They have the Cam Ward replica jerseys, both on MiamiHTS.com and also at the team store right next to the Thesis Hotel in Coral Gables, across the street from the university. You have unbelievable gear like this Cam Ward authentic jersey. Authentic meaning it's got his numbers and his name on it. Not the one that you buy off the Virginia Tech game, although maybe that one will be on sale sometime soon. Maybe Pete Memorabilia guy will get his hands on that one. But this is the jersey, Adidas, number 1, Ward. Show your pride. It got youth sizes as well, because a lot of kids are Cam Ward fans, especially after another comeback performance like that. My kids want this jersey. So MiamiHTS.com. And while the NIL stuff, those products are separate. Other products, your mainstream products, those are going to be 20% off if you use promo code INSIGHT20. So go to the store, use promo code INSIGHT20. Your first item, your first select item will be 20% off. Again, NIL, those profits go to the players. But the other item, go in there, get a jersey, then you get yourself a hat, some sandals, a shirt, whatever it is, something for your wife. 20% off. First item, promo code INSIGHT20. All right, so the Miami HTS post of the day. We like to highlight a post from CanesInSight.com, 7 million posts and counting, the free forum, the busiest site on the web. And today, this was an interesting one. So we got 305 Separatist. What says, I think college football overtakes the NFL in 20 years. He had some reasons for that. He says, the payment structure is going to incentivize kids to stay in school more. It's just a more exciting product. The college football playoff is going to excite people. And look, I think that's bold to say it'll overtake NFL. NFL is so huge in the ratings, so dominant. Big cities are going to lean more towards NFL than college. Plus, you have fantasy football. There's a lot of factors in play. But for my personal enjoyment and also what I see happening, I think college football product is way better than NFL this year, not even close. That Heisman race with Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty could be a huge one going forward. Probably the best Heisman race in years if they continue to perform those four or a combination of those four. And the trend lines to me with the NIL, with the expansion of the playoff, which I'm not a huge fan of. I thought Georgia versus Alabama yesterday should have been, or on Saturday should have been a playoff game in the regular season like it used to be, but I'm old. People disagree. But the interest is high. And even if college football doesn't overtake the NFL, I could see the gap close.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of different factors. I personally I love the diversity of college football and the fact that these NFL teams, man, they're so equally matched talent-wise that, yes, hypothetically, it makes the games closer, but I just think sometimes it makes the games tough to watch. The athletes defensively, man, are so good that as good as these quarterbacks are talent-wise in the NFL, it's very difficult, man. There's some bad quarterbacks in college football, but it just seems like these OCs are able to scheme, and obviously the defenses aren't as good, but these games get a little more open. And to me, again, a more enjoyable product. I agree with the post completely. Like you said, NFL has such a machine behind it, marketing wise, media wise. So many big companies involved in putting the product on that it's tough to see it completely overtaking it. But the conference realignment has made things very interesting. You get a game like we have this weekend, Miami at Cal, 10:30 Eastern. Not normally a game. Miami fans are gonna have to stay up a little late here, but the West Coast getting to see that game in prime time over there. So it's a very interesting debate, and obviously the realignment is still ongoing somewhat. Florida State, we'll see what happens with them. I don't think they have much of a claim to anything right now, but yeah, I'm with it. I agree with that post, but to say it's going to overtake the NFL is a tough one.
Yeah, but that's what the
great debate
are
for,
right? They're to start conversation, and who knows what will happen. I use my kids as a barometer because my kids have never wanted to watch college football, and they love sports, especially my oldest one. He watches baseball highlights, MLB till he falls asleep. Likes the NBA, the stars and everything else. So college football was last for him, especially because the Canes have not been good. But now seeing the Canes and seeing how exciting it is, that's all he wants to talk about the last couple of days
and
couple of weeks.
I mean, I don't think your son's playing the video game yet, but don't discount that as a factor too. I mean, it's been 10 plus years without that video game. I think there's a lot of fans across the country who are now obviously back playing the game again, and Madden has been a staple for as long as it's been, and that's another contributing factor. So I think that helps as well.
Yeah, I mean, he has to get straight A's to get the game. I'm cheering for him because I want the game. So he better not let me down. But yeah, I think it's a great point. It's just the star power, man. I think that's at least from a Canes perspective. I think we've underrated the impact of star power. We just haven't had stars, and now you have Cam Ward going for the Heisman, Xavier Restrepo. If you're a kid or just a new fan, and you go in saying, okay, this is supposed to be the good players. Well, if you watch that game on Friday, they were the good players with the Restrepo catch, and of course Cam Ward with the shovel pass. It's just exciting. Travis Hunter, man, what he does, that he was such a show on Saturday. Jeanty, what do you have, 250, 260 yards? Shout out to Chase Romero.
Yeah.
I've been all over that one since he was a pup, but that guy's unreal. Probably the best running back I've seen since McCaffrey.
Well, and we talk about NIL. That was something that he brought up in the post too. Stars were born naturally before in college football, but now these guys you can see them on ads, commercials, these campaigns, right? We see DJU has a great campaign with Celsius going on. They probably want their money back on that one, but again, it just makes it a lot easier for these faces to be as recognizable as they're becoming.
Yeah, when you talk about players that grow up exclusively in the NIL era, I'm very excited to see what Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith do. To me, they're the two best receivers in the country already, true freshmen. They are, they might be two of the best players in the country, probably are two of the best players in the country already. And they're going to have their whole career in this NIL stuff, right in the thick of it. So it'll be very interesting to see how they're promoted from the beginning. And they're in the video game from the beginning. Like those are kind of, talk about like the beginning of the next wave of college football stars. Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams are two names to watch. Obviously, wish you had a Hurricane in that age range that's doing that, but we'll have to settle for Cam Ward being in the Heisman race. That's pretty good.
Yeah, having a great start to the season. So let's see. This weekend we'll be talking a bunch about the game. D, you'll be heading out there this weekend to the West Coast, but we'll be bringing you guys the coverage all week long here on CanesInSight. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. The support's been awesome this season and only going to keep getting stronger here as Miami rolls into the meat of their schedule here, 1-0 in ACC play, and you know it'll be rocking out there in Berkeley this weekend.
I'll be out there. If you see me, say what's up. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Yeah, this an insight to the Canes, and you know we ain't playing no games. Joaquin said dominate, so that's what we do. Home of the legends and 7th floor crew, down in Miami where hurricanes brew. You here for the rumors, we bring you the news, cause it's all about the you, and nobody do it like CanesInSight. 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 It's CanesInSight.